Alright guys, part 3. So now that we've learned about genotypes and phenotypes and naming and doing some Punnett squares, we're going to learn about Mendel's law. So again, that's after Greg Mendel. What he did is he found that there's some special kind of circumstantial examples when it comes to heterozygous dominant traits. So, for example, big B, little b for eye color, you're carrying the brown eye trait and the blue eye trait. Sometimes people have hazel eyes or green eyes. So what happens is there's these rules that kind of go against the norm. So most of the time, what we do is when we see a dominant trait, it definitely overpowers the recessive trait. But sometimes it's kind of a blend. Okay, so if this was for height, sometimes if your mom is really tall and your dad's really short, then you're kind of in the middle. So there's always these exceptions. So we're going to learn about these 3 Mendel's laws, and I'm going to give you guys an example. So this only comes into effect with heterozygous dominant. So when you have a dominant and a recessive trait, both. So there are 3 laws, okay? And these get kind of confusing, so I'm going to try to simplify them as best as possible, okay? So we're going to use the example, okay, of a rabbit, okay, for our first example, okay? And we're going to say that the rabbit is getting a big B, which means black fur, or a little b, which means white fur. Okay, so a black and a white rabbit are going to mate and produce offspring. So the first law is called complete dominance. Okay, what complete dominance is, and I'm gonna put a little box around this. This is important. Okay, complete dominance. This is the most common, I would say, depending on what species or type of animal or plant you're talking about. But complete dominance is when the dominant trait is completely shown. Get it? Complete dominance, completely shown, meaning it masks over it, okay? So if you had big B, little b for an offspring, it would be a black rabbit. The black dominant trait would completely overshadow the white rabbit color. Okay, so complete dominance, it completely is shown as the dominant trait. The second law is incomplete. Incomplete dominance, okay, is the second one. So what I kind of like to think about is when it's incomplete, so let's say you want to do your homework and it's incomplete. It's not done, but it's kind of done, okay? It's kind of a blend. So I'm going to call this one a blend, okay? It's kind of halfway there, okay? So it's a blend or a mix of both traits. Okay, a blend or mix of both traits. So, if it's a big B, little b for this one, you would actually end up with a gray rabbit. It would mix the black and the white together, and you would get a gray rabbit or like a brown rabbit, okay? All right. The third one is what we call co-dominance. Co-dominance. Okay, co-dominance is when you see both. Okay, you see both colors. So what you would see, okay, is like patches of both traits. Okay, so for a big B, little b rabbit, that would be, you would see black and white patches. So sometimes you'll get like an all white rabbit with maybe black ears and a little black speck on its back, or maybe it's mostly black with some white specks. It doesn't really matter. All it's saying is you would see some patches of black and some patches of white. So it's called co-dominance. And I will give you a little way to remember this. I kind of think of it as like a co-pilot. I cannot spell today. Okay, a co-pilot, meaning that when you have a co-pilot flying a plane, they are both flying the plane. Okay, so you would see both the black and the white. Okay, so we're going to try this. Okay, so if you guys could do me a favor, I'm going to kind of make a little double T chart here. But we're going to write this at the first. So we're going to talk about fish, okay? So a blue fish, we're going to say, is dominant over a yellow fish. Now, a question that always comes up is why are we using B and then B? Why would not B and Y? You always use the same letter because it's for the same exact trait. This is looking for color, not the fin shape or the type of fish. Okay, so blue fish versus yellow fish. All right, so we're gonna make a little 3-column chart to practice this. Okay, complete dominance. Okay, versus incomplete dominance versus co-dominance. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, complete, incomplete, and co. Alright, so we're going to go through these 3 and kind of explain it. So, if I have big B, little b, now these only work with heterozygous dominant. So I'm going to write it down just to practice. Okay, so if I cross, okay, now my drawings are going to be really good, guys, so don't be jealous here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and draw my fish first, because then I'm going to color code, so this is going to make it easier. Okay, so I'm going to cross some fish, okay, and then we're going to see what offspring would come out of that if it was an incomplete, complete, or codominant example with a heterozygous. Okay, so big B, little b. So let's say that I cross a blue fish with a yellow fish on each of these examples. Okay, so a blue fish and then a yellow fish. Okay, give them a little eye. And a little mouth. Make my drawings a little bit better. So I'm crossing a blue fish and a yellow fish. So if it's complete dominance, which is kind of like the norm, okay, the dominant is going to overpower, okay? So I would be left with a blue fish. Okay, the blue fish would be overpowered, okay? So we would be left with blue. Okay, this one means that like the dominant side wins. Okay? Now with incomplete, remember incomplete means a blend. Okay? If you were to blend these colors together, yellow and blue create green. So you would actually end up with a green fish. Okay, which seems kind of odd. You're like, there's a blue fish and a yellow fish. It shouldn't equal a green, but it does. It's a blend. You're showing both of the colors. Okay, now with codominance, you're going to see both. Okay, they're both piloting the genes. So we've got a yellow fish and a blue fish. So we would see, hypothetically, let's say it's like speckled. Let's say it is a yellow fish with blue dots. Okay, so it would be yellow in the background with some blue dots, so you would see both. Okay, so you would see yellow and blue patches. Now, it could be striped, it could be kind of a rainbow effect, where it maybe is like an ombre, but you would see both colors, okay, in its entirety. Okay, you would see both. Alright, so those are the 3 things. Now, when you do a practice problem and I say, okay, this is a complete dominance example, that means normal, okay? If I say, if you get a heterozygous dominant, it's actually incomplete, or it's a co, then you would know. So don't ever think that you would have to just guess. So always under assumption, assume it is complete dominance. This is the normal one. There are few things, guys know how science works. It's like, here's the majority, but there's always some exceptions. So these are exceptions, but I would tell you when they are exceptions, all right? So don't freak out about that, okay? Just assume it is complete dominance. Alrighty, go ahead and stick around for part 4. This will be the official practice round, so make sure when you go through your notes again, you guys are going to do a practice, and then you guys are going to actually submit it. And then I'm going to give you guys an answer key, but I really do want you guys to take a second and try them before you look at the answers. So part 4 of the notes are going to be practice. Then part 5, I'm going to go over the answers.